Can the Cubs offense keep it up in our first Farm Friday as we look at the prospects? Let's roll.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's Friday episode, happy Friday, everybody, is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Pleased to be joined as well for this episode by Ty Lewan, who will be with us once per month. Ty is an everydayer to our program. I believe this is his fifth appearance, if I've kept score correctly, combined from sub-hosting and appearances on sound offs and the holiday party. And Ty, welcome to the show.
Boys, thank you so much for having me. As I've mentioned on this show many of times, this has been one of my favorite shows to listen to on a daily basis. You guys have also done me a solid coming on to my show, but of course, that is not the focus here today. It's to talk Cubs, and it's been a little stressful, as Sam has alluded to a multitude of times. So I'm excited to see where this team is going to be here after this weekend, and we'll get to that.
Hey, I'm ready. Hey, I'm ready to have a great time.
Oh, wow. How long did you think of that one today?
About 15 minutes before we started.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
And
Ty is going to lead our Farm Friday segments, which debuts today. We're also going to preview Cubs, Mariners, and we're going to lead off with talking about the offense. As through the first 12 games of the year, the offense continues to carry the Northsiders. They are not only doing well, but I would say enjoyable to watch. It's a fun lineup right now. Here's what they line up in the rankings: 5th in OBP, 10th in average, 9th in slugging. This is all major league ranks, by the way. 2nd highest walk percentage, 10th lowest strikeout rate, 3rd highest hard contact percentage. Shout out to Boog and JD. And 7th in clutch hitting. That's all major league rankings. And quite frankly, it's pretty impressive. And definitely the offense is humming right now. Sam and Ty. Sam first. Thoughts on the Cubs offense so far? And really the main question for me today as they continue the West Coast trip is whether or not it's actually going to continue.
yeah, I think it is. For me, the lineup, the linchpin of this lineup, the key to this lineup is Suzuki. I believe that when he is hitting, and he really struggled yesterday, but when he is hitting, and he is a guy in this lineup, everything else makes sense because you just know, Hap, this is who Hap's hopefully going to be. He's turned into an OBP type of guy. Well, he's always been an OBP type of guy, but now as a leadoff hitter, that could be his focus. Morel looks like he's taken a leap. I know it's just 12 games, but his swing decisions, his contact, he looks like he's taken a leap. The rest of the guys, Horner, struggling right now, he'll figure it out. Bellinger struggling right now, he'll figure it out. Swanson hitting right now, at some point he's going to struggle. These guys go in waves. I think if Seiya continues to be the linchpin of consistency, hitting second in this lineup, it'll make everything else a lot easier. I hope to see him continue because you got to remember with Suzuki, as good as he started to start this year, he started out his rookie year amazing in April. Last year, he missed some time. He started out really well. He tends to start struggling when the season starts to go. That's why every now and then getting him a day off is good. But I really think as he goes, this team will go because everybody else, you kind of just know. Like right now, Bellinger hasn't been great. He's going to get hot. And Dansby Swanson's been really solid. He's going to hit a funk. So I think Suzuki's the guy that has the ability to be really solid the whole year. If he is, I think this offense continues to do its thing.
Yeah, I mean, From my standpoint, from what I've seen, is that it's a team, and you guys have mentioned a lot of the words and the things that I'll probably discuss, but of course, this is from my point of view, is that this offense at the end of the day is going to have continued success. I think where my issue lies is beyond and other parts of their team when it comes to the bullpen and starting pitching, because over the course of the season, can the offense take over those issues that they've had and sort of, heal those issues that they've had thus far this season? I would say, though, from what we've seen thus far, and I think, Matt, you alluded to this on the show the other day, where they talked about pitches per plate appearance, right? And seeing those numbers increasingly rise, right? I haven't seen a Cubs team in a long time where I'm seeing 40 to 50 pitches by potentially the end of the second inning. So if the team can continue having that philosophy, then I see this team having a lot of success. My biggest issue will be, though, is when teams go out there like we saw with, like a Dylan Cease, or when these other teams come on out and they're actually throwing their aces, can this team step up and not necessarily rely on taking pitches the entire time and trying to rely on potentially a higher OBP when we should be relying more on slug and average?
Good point.
Yeah, it seemed like they were taking a lot of pitches and grinding at bats, and that's true, Ty. I looked that up earlier today. 8th in the majors in pitches per plate appearance at 3.97. I've seen the word relentless out there. I think Sam has used it once before to describe this offense, and I know this has English teacher vibes, but I'd like one word from each of you to describe the offense so far, whether it is relentless or something else.
This is going to be good.
Can I do 2 words?
Yeah, please.
Go Cubs. Selectively aggressive.
Wow. I don't know if that's going to fit the thumbnail, but it's pretty good. I think a lot of the numbers back that up. Ty, how about you? Anything ringing a bell?
Can I use 2 words as well?
Go Cubs.
I would say aggressively patient in a way.
It's the same phrase.
Too many characters, guys.
No.
Come on.
You know what? I'll take a page out of my dad's book. Intriguing.
Ooh, all right.
I'm intrigued with what I've seen so far, but it's early. It's 12 games. We could see. I want to make one quick point on what Ty said, because it was a really good point about the ace pitchers. Yes. That's always a very slippery slope, because they're ace pitchers for a reason. Nobody hits them, right? But I think what this team can do, like even yesterday, Cease pitched great. 6 innings, two
he hit 100 5 times.
Yeah, six innings, 2 unearned runs, but they were really close. And the Cubs, I didn't think, first of all, the vision stuff yesterday was ridiculous. You couldn't see the first 5 innings of the game. Second, of course, anyone could see what Hendricks was lobbing up there. But oh boy. Even in that case, when you go up against a guy like Cease that was getting over his breaking stuff and landing those, throwing 100, and he threw pretty close to 100 pitches through 6 innings, and you got your 2 runs off of them. When you're facing those guys, when you're facing the Dylan Ceases of the world and the Tyler Glasnows of the world, or whoever else, there's really not that many aces anymore. But even that's not a terrible performance. You get them out fairly early in the game. The Talkmans, the Haps, those at bats that grind. Even if they throw 5 shutout, but they're out after 5, it's still not a bad job.
Yeah. And, part of the intrigue for me is also a little bit of a sense of relief or sense of comfort that as they trend to be a better team this year, and maybe firmly as one of those throughout a whole campaign, I do think that them having pretty much the same 1 through 7 matters a lot. I can't remember the last time the Cubs had the same guys that far down the lineup. How long has it been? Since 2017, 2016 even? Happ, Suzuki, Bellinger, Morel, Bush, Swanson, and Horner. And that's how they should be penciled in every day. I teased the Bush-Swanson swap the other day. I know it happened one of the games of the Padres series.
Yeah,
I like the 1 through 7 a lot. I know the 8-9 has varied, and it should. The rotation of Talkman and Madrigal. obviously behind the dish, Amaya and Gomes, but I really like that it is the same lineup because that's what the Dodgers are doing. That's what the Braves are doing. That's what the Rangers are doing. And by the way, speaking of so I could hit the whole roster here of hitters, Cooper and Mastro are really the only ones who haven't played. Mastro, especially with only 8 plate appearances so far. But I do like the structure that Council has drafted.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons, though, it has been super consistent and Cooper hasn't played, they've only faced 2 lefties all season out of 12.
Wow. What, 2 out of 12?
And the second game of the year, he wanted to give Bush a chance. So Cooper's only gotten 1 lefty start, and it was against Kyle Freeland, right? Am I wrong?
And then he got 1 righty start. You're right.
Yeah. So I think you'll see more of those, the lefty specialist guys when you face them, but you don't face any this weekend.
There's none this weekend, and maybe none next week.
Yeah, I think Henry is maybe on Arizona. I think they might have 1, or if they start Montgomery, of course.
Yeah, he's in the discussion to start. Yeah. Ty, are you finding comfort in the consistency of the lineup, or does it not matter as much as we think?
I would think that with the approach that they have right now, and like I said earlier, I just think that approach, if that's going to be their approach for the entirety of this year, while yes, they'll go through ebbs and flows and have, some bad games and here and there, but if they continue to have that mindset as a coveted group, saying, look, see pitches, because on those days that they face those ace pitchers, we may get one of their off days somehow, some way we might. So maybe we do get lucky in that sense. But over the course of the year, with how many, with all, the variance of these arms and the health of these arms from these other teams, and maybe how we could be seeing, pitchers coming up for their first starts, or maybe some younger guys, and they're having to face this type of offense, I feel very comfortable in it. And I see that as long as they stay with that approach, if they go away from their approach, like I saw a lot of that last year, where it was a team going up there and it felt like, what is their identity? Right. We talk about it like with like the Bears and stuff, and like how they do it in football. But in baseball, I think that's a really important thing, because then what it does for pitchers is that it forces them to say, I need to throw pitches into the zone because I know this team is going to see a lot of pitches. That then leads to higher offensive rankings, which I think at the end of the day, if they can just consistently do that, then I can see this team having a very successful campaign.
Yeah, it's to me, it's like selectively aggressive.
And it's like passionately aggressive too. So yeah.
One more thing that I did want to note.
It's a long segment.
Cubs are last in stolen bases with 2 steals in 12 games. Just something to keep an eye on there, right?
Well, and really their main source of steals is Nico, and he hasn't really hit that well, although he's gotten on base. But yeah, I don't think Council likes to run a ton. But
I didn't know that. Did you?
No, I didn't. But
I just missed that, I guess.
But no, what I miss, though, is whenever Madrigal and Horner are batting and there's a guy on first, I don't care who it is. If it's 2-1, he should be in motion on a hit and run. H&R, man. Right. H&R block.
Coming up next, we're going to preview the next series, which is Cubs Mariners. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by Cubs Mariners. Brought to you by Ibata, a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibata, just add your offers in the app, upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Join the over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,000 brands and retailers, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying it by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the Apple or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back by using code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibata, IBOTTA, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cubs, and the Cubs play the Mariners at 8:40 p.m. Central on Friday. You can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. And I would suggest doing that for Friday, because that's the only hometown call, is the 3-gamer begins with a Apple TV Plus exclusive game. They go first pitch times of 8:40, 8:40, and 3:10 to wrap it up on Sunday. I'm not sure. Is Apple TV Plus like, at bars and restaurants? I really don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So I wonder if Cubs fans are going to make a point to try to get it just for the one day or a couple games.
Well, somebody asked me to do a watch along for tomorrow because of the Apple TV situation.
Well, how are we going to do that if we can't see the game?
Oh, well, I have Apple TV.
Oh,
but I don't know if I'm going to be around for it. But that's nobody cares. So let's move on.
A watch along at night though would be interesting.
Well, I'll probably
I would actually be open to that more so during the day. I got to be honest.
Yeah. All right. Well, are you going to?
You know what I mean?
Are you going to do them though? Because
like I would do one at night. Like at night, it's kind of like night vibes, like a Friday or Saturday night. It could get weird on the YouTubes.
Well, all right. Well, if you want to do one tomorrow, let me know.
Okay. Jordan Wicks and Bryce Miller will toe the slab on Friday. Shota Imanaga and Emerson Hancock, Javier Assad, and Luis Castillo. Or is it Luis?
Luis.
I always
Luis.
forget. Variety of Mariners starting pitchers right there. Miller, a good young pitcher, but Hancock has allowed 11 runs on 15 hits in 8 innings. And Castillo is somewhere in the middle of those two guys as he has allowed exactly 4 runs in each of his first 3 starts. Mariners offense is ice cold. And Josh Rojas is their leading hitter at a 360 average, but only 8 games. And Mitch Haniger has been their leading run producer, 2 homers and 8 ribbies. They are really struggling to open the year, guys.
Ty, go ahead.
Yeah, they are. It's been, when you look at their top of their lineup with Polanco, JP Crawford, and Julio, it's been a struggle. And Julio Rodriguez has always been, he's the number one player there, of course, as everybody knows. He's a top player in the game, but he is a hot and cold type of guy. And right now their offense is just horrendous. So we'll see. They're all 3 guys are batting under 200. They're striking out a ton across their entire lineup. They got guys like you said, Haniger and Canzone that, could potentially be a threat this weekend, but hopefully they stay cold for the upcoming weekend.
Ty and Matthew, I woke up today, which is Thursday, and, I said this on the show more than once last year, Matt. When I used to watch the Cubs before we had a show, I used to dread off days. I used to dread them because I love watching every day. And now that we have the show and it gets emotional and stressful and things, an off day really resets me. Like I almost feel like I'm a player, honestly. It resets my mind. And I'm feeling a lot better. Like I was looking at the schedule, and looking at early season schedules is always it's always the double-edged sword, because you face a guy like Luis Castillo Sunday who's been terrible, but his baseball card says he's due to get better. So is it a bad time to face him, or is it a good time? So I don't like to play that game. But the game I will play is when you look at the Mariners, the D-backs, the Astros, the Marlins. I texted Matt this today during his lunch hour. It's not as bad of a stretch as I thought before the season. And so I'm feeling pretty confident as far as this weekend goes. And it never works like this. I always do this and it never works out like this. But according to my theory, Friday would be the toss-up game. Saturday, it favors the Cubs, and Sunday favors the Mariners. Now, it's not going to work out like that, but going into the weekend, that's how you would look at it. You feel really good about your chances to win this series if you win Friday night's game.
I couldn't agree more. Saturday is against Hancock, who has been horrendous through his first couple of starts. Bryce Miller is so interesting to me. He's a fastball split finger guy. I
hate the splits.
He is... He's a dude. He did really well against Milwaukee, which is sort of a interesting conversation there, depending on the way that you look at their offense right now. So it's, again, I literally sat there and I said, you win Saturday, toss up Friday, with Sunday being it's going to be a tough, opponent. But the way the numbers have looked thus far for Castillo has not looked good at all.
Right. And that's my point. Is he due or is he not?
And against our offense right now, is this the type of offense that he's going to have success against, especially with the way his numbers have looked? It's tough. So does Friday and Sunday flip? that's up to
and
everyone else.
Hancock's really even when he's decent, he doesn't miss many bats.
No.
So it should be, I think Friday will be a big tone setter. I don't know as much about Bryce Miller. I haven't watched him, I think, as much as you have. But, Bobby Miller's a dude, and the Cubs were able to get him out, and they have almost the same type of name. So
I think it's similar. I do think it's similar.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Coming up next, we go down on the farm and talk prospects. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The sports calendar is absolutely loaded right now, and FanDuel is making it even more exciting to get in on the action. Right now, new customers get $200. Wow, $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more, including the Masters, which began on Thursday and goes through the whole weekend. The Cubs are also plus 102 right now on Friday, guys. Mariners at minus 120. Over under runs scored for that ball game, 7.5 as of our recording time. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is also brought to you by LinkedIn Sales Navigator, a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Are you struggling to close deals? How about LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Right now, you can try it for a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. Our first Farm Friday here on the show, as Ty is going to absolutely help us out with that to close out another week here on the show. A fun week, a lot of late recording times for us. And I agree. I think the off day was much welcomed for a number of reasons. All right, we're going to do a few different things here. Obviously, an emphasis on the AAA and AA rosters that are both absolutely loaded, especially with the Smokies down there at AA. But then also, I know one name for sure that Ty has in front of him, a certain lefty veteran that we're going to talk about. So we're going to do a couple different things here. But let's start with the first affiliate level, Ty, and that is AAA. And how has their season started so far? And definitely zooming in on Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah. And guys, thanks again for letting me run through all this. I think from the farm system standpoint, I saw today that the AAA and AA clubs are top 10 in the league right now across all the farm systems, which is pretty incredible. So obviously what Jed has done has turned it into a positive situation, which has been fantastic. But we're starting with PCA. I'm a little concerned. We all know that PCA can go out there and be a defensive magician. We know that he can go out there and steal bases. The problem has been from an offensive side, right? So last year, everyone wanted to bring him up. Everybody thought he would be, the next coming of a Cody Bellinger type of player. But unfortunately, we saw some issues and saw maybe some immaturity at the plate. Well, thus far has not necessarily changed. In spring training, he struck out 9 times in 29 ABs. Thus far, he struck out 11 times in 39 ABs in AAA. So he's got 9 hits, but he's got a 268 on base percentage. He struck out a third of the time last year. He's almost striking out every 4th at bat. And so in my personal opinion, I don't see him making the big league club until the end of the year.
You don't see a path to it, you might say.
Unfortunately, because
the road is closed.
From a defensive and base running standpoint, that is not something we need right now. From an offensive side of things, it'd be awesome to have in the lineup.
Doesn't matter if he's getting on base at a 268 clip. That's horrible.
Mike Tauchman is a better on base percentage player.
268? So that's horrible.
It's a tough look. I know Sam.
Did Matt have caffeine during the FanDuel ad? Stay tuned.
I had it earlier today.
Sam, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a shock. Wow, he's not doing well at all.
So my thoughts are, I totally hear what you're saying. I think it's early in AAA to go there to make that. But I think, first of all, there's a lot there. The PCA thing's really tough. First of all, the defense and stolen base thing we actually haven't seen at the big league level yet, because in the spring he couldn't feel the ball in the sun and he got thrown out a bunch. So even his strengths weren't that strong.
Yeah,
but that was
picked off.
Yeah, that was very limited. I don't think there's a rush to bring him up because, as we talked about off the air, the question is with PCA, we all know Cody Bellinger signed a contract. He's going to have a long runway till about at least June to get himself right, and he's probably going to. He's Cody Bellinger. I think, and even so far, his numbers aren't great, but he looks pretty similar to me. So the question is it PCA or is it Michael Busch? Because the path, to use Matt's phrase, of getting PCA up here was, Michael Busch is struggling, so we're going to move Bellinger over to first, and now we have a spot in center. Right. Because as great as Mike Tauchman is, and I am extremely grateful that he's the fourth outfielder on this team, he's overqualified for that. He's not a great defensive center fielder, and you don't like to mess around with that. So I'm going too long. But the point is I agree with you for the most part. Let's see what happens in about a month. But even if he does hit, and Matt, is it over? I'm gonna have him. I'm gonna ask my question to him.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Going to transition to this. Even if he does hit, as long as Busch and Bellinger are performing, where does he play? So my question to you, Ty, is: do you think I'm wrong when I say we had Lance on the show, Lance Brzezowski, a little while ago, and he was like, "Hey, PCA is going to be." The question was, which minor league guy is going to have the biggest impact on the 2024 team? And he said, I don't want to quote him, but he said, "I think it's going to be pretty easily PCA." That's a paraphrase.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I thought then, and I think now the answer is Matt Shaw. And the reason why I believe that, and you could tell me I'm wrong if you'd like, that's totally fine. But the reason I think that is, I think he's going to learn how to play third at a serviceable level. The Cubs have a need there. And I just think he's a stud. Floor is yours.
The way that I look at it is that I take the way that their lineup is constructed right now, right? And there's always guys that are blocked. That was the biggest thing with Cody Bellinger, was he's going to block PCA. Well, they didn't see enough from PCA because they brought back Cody, right? And they paid him $30-something million. So I would say Matt Shaw is easily, in my opinion, the number one guy to make his way to the big leagues because of his ability to play third base. I saw it in spring training when I was, because I live out here in Phoenix. I got to see him play. It's smooth, it's consistent, which they do not have over at third base right now. And I'm sorry, Nick Madrigal, you are not my primary third baseman, and we can't be screwing around with Busch right now. He's so dialed in. That's what the Dodgers thought he could be.
He can't play third.
He was blocked. But correct.
Third.
But Busch over at first base, so now you would need to find somebody to play third base.
Right.
So with Busch, then he's locked in. He's not blocked like he was in LA. He has an opportunity to be successful. He is doing that. So I see Matt Shaw being that guy for sure.
And then before we get to Thomas Pannone start, Ty, give us one name that jumps off that's gotten off to a good start with the prospects.
One guy that has been really, really popping off thus far is Owen Casey, number 3 overall prospect for the Cubs. Really nice stat line here thus far, 324, 444, and 459 with a 903 OPS and a notable 147 WRC plus. It's a name that we, of course, all see and have really enjoyed watching kind of grow into where he is right now. But it's a name that's really starting to make its waves through, the prospect gurus on X and all that, which some of them are, some of them aren't. But, what I'm seeing, though, is a guy that, while he has struck out a little bit. He's got 16 out of 37 at-bats thus far that he struck out. But my thinking on that is, if he has the stat line that he has and he still struck out that much, that tells me that during his outcomes of in play, he's having success, which the way that this lineup is constructed now from a patiency standpoint and being patiently aggressive, shout out, the 2 words. But what I'm seeing, though, is that if he can develop that mindset, because if he's got all this pop and he's going to have that patience, sort of strategy at the top when he gets to the big leagues, I think we could potentially see this guy really popping off.
And I think that Kyle Hendricks should lead off the Marlins series on Thursday, which means there would be an opening in the rotation Wednesday against the D-backs right there down the street from you, Ty. And I think that start should go to Thomas Pannone. Tell us about him.
Yeah, so this is a really intriguing story, guys. He's a 29-year-old left-hander who's drafted back in 2013, spent a couple seasons in the minors, then went over to the KBO, came back. He was on the Brewers roster last year. When the flurry of spring training invitees came in that were non-roster invites that Matt and Sam alluded to as we were going up into spring training, there was a name that popped off and said, will this be a guy that can contribute right away? Well, what I'm kind of seeing now and what my understanding is of what their philosophy was with grabbing all these guys was that they weren't looking for guys to make an impact right away. They were looking to get them in their system to develop them and hopefully make an impact for the season. Little note there, he played for the Brewers, so Craig Counsell got to see him firsthand. So currently in AAA right now, he has a 2-0 record with an 0.57 ERA over 3 starts, 15 2/3 innings of work, 17 strikeouts to 4 walks. What I love about this, though, is that he, in his couple of his starts thus far, he's showcased 7 strikeouts in his last 2 outings, while also providing over 5 innings of work. So that tells me that he is getting to that point of being able to come up for spot starts. And if we need him as a mid-inning guy, I just don't see why that would make sense with what he's doing down in AAA. But he's not going to overpower you. His fastball actually sits in the low 90s, but he's a very crafty left-handed pitcher.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds very, very familiar. So showcases a cutter, changeup, curveball. Again, AAA to the major leagues is just a completely different ball game. But what we're seeing here thus far is, and what's great too, is that his walks aren't necessarily too high and his strikeouts are up. So that tells me that at least he's pounding the zone, which at the end of the day, we really need that up now in the big league club, especially with the depth issues that we're having right now.
All right, Ty, it was a great first Farm Friday segment, and we will be back, Sam and I, on Monday to recap the Mariners series, hopefully a series win, and any other news and notes that may occur over the next few days.
And if Ty keeps having appearances like this, I will resign, and I'll just go back to being a fan. So enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes and we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. Fun show. For Ty Lewan, for Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.